Good evening, Coin community, and welcome back to our weekly live stream over at Coins.ph. For tonight's discussion, we will be celebrating, Women's Month with some of our team members from all around the world. So I'd like to, bring up on stage in a little bit some of our team members who will be answering some of your questions as well that you've submitted via X and some of the questions that we have prepared for them as well. So don't forget that we'll be giving out USDT for those people who submit their questions. So we do have some questions over from our Coins Twitter, but if you are tuning into our live stream, please do drop a question on Twitter or on Facebook, wherever you are watching from. So without further ado, let's bring on, my teammates and people who I think, deserve some spotlight as well. So let's bring on Christine from our BD department. So Christine, good evening. How are you doing?
Hi, good evening. I'm doing great.
Awesome. And it's not your first time being on the show, but I think it's my
Yeah.
first time to have a panel with multiple people. So I'm excited to hear all of your perspectives. So, Christine,
Yeah.
welcome. And next, I'd like to bring on Anastasia from the Coins.xyz Brazil team. Anastasia, how are you doing? What time is it over where you are in the world?
I'm doing great. I'm having already a cup of coffee here. It's 8 in the morning. It's not that early like we usually do. The last time it was 5 a.m. in the morning, but it's great. So I'm happy to see you and happy to be with you here today.
Anastasia, thank you for waking up for this as well. And of course, our marketing director, Amira. Amira, good evening. How are you doing?
Hey, doing great. Excited for this session.
Awesome. So I think for everyone here, it's their first time probably doing a round robin. So what I'll be doing is to probably flash the question on screen, which our guests have also received a copy of and will be giving their perspective on. So maybe the way we can do it is the way I introduced you. So Christine can go first, and then Anastasia, and then Amira. So let's get started. So for our first question, I guess, let's face the facts. Crypto has long been considered a very male dominated industry, and it's interesting that we also have many women leaders at Coins, such as you. So maybe for the three of you, maybe you can each share how you got hooked onto crypto or into fintech and maybe what started your origins into this space. So I'll drop over the microphone to you, Christine.
Okay, I guess I'll take the lead over here. So for me, how I joined crypto and fintech industry. So for crypto part, I did hear about Bitcoin back in 2018. And that was during like when things were getting really big. What's like Bitcoin, like who is Satoshi, like what is blockchain? So I definitely got curious about it. But I wasn't really deeply involved. It was just more like I hear about it. I will like see some memes, I would see some news, but I just kind of consider it as like a market noise and wasn't really sure what it was. And afterwards, things kind of changed. So I think what really changed for me was mainly the people and the environment. So people always consider crypto as a very male dominant space full of crypto bros. But funny how for me, I was very lucky enough to have a supportive parents who told me to be more open-minded for new technologies and innovations. And also a lot of my friends were actually in TradFi, but some started to jump into crypto at that time. So without me being properly joining crypto, I was already hanging out with these like exchange people, these project people. And then I would see obviously there are a lot of like big hypes, but then the underlying fundamental value in the technology is there and how the money has been evolving. So these kind of idea kind of loosened my mind up to this space. And eventually I just had a chance to join a crypto VC back in the days, and eventually I joined Coins.ph. So for me, it was a bit of a step, I would say, without me really considering crypto as a very scary space. I think because of my friends, because of the networks that I have, I already kind of like was more loosened in, and it was some industry that I would always want to end up with, but just timing happened to be right. And then yeah, that's how I ended up in this space.
Thank you, Christine. I guess I'd like to pass the microphone over to you, Anastasia. So maybe how did you get started, with crypto and, especially eventually working with us here at Coins?
Sure. So my story correlates a bit, but even I bought Bitcoin well, like in 2018, 2019. I haven't seen it ever. Like, and afterwards either, because it was like I don't know, a like exchange in Russia. I'm just Russian, right? And well, it was curious, and I guess I started studying crypto from different perspective and money in general. So I did have a chance to work with fintech and also with finance, like traditional finance, also all from content marketing perspective, or even like a bit PR perspective and partnership. So it was like all different fields around finance. And I guess that it just sparked curiosity. And I also had a lot of doubts, not only because it's a male industry, but also because it kind of was considered a shaky industry, something that you cannot fully trust on at the point, and I was also invited to work in different like projects that indeed were, network state or network marketing, who are selling like projects or investments in crypto for people who didn't know anything about it. So you never knew actually if you were stepping into a real project or a map, like a rec project, right? So it all changed maybe in I guess in 2021, 2022 for me, somewhere where again I also met right people, where I could learn what it that how it works, and that it's like a real technology. And I got into a different environment, so I started considering, okay, let's try it out. But indeed, in the beginning, it was pretty much a male field. But I guess that my area, that is marketing, is usually more female dominated. So it kind of was smoother for me. So I didn't have to, face a lot of difficulties considered with that. But at some point, yes, sure, there are some like events, and how the dynamics go. So it's still mostly a male industry. But I worked for years in like marketing, and then I ended up at Coins doing pretty much the same thing, just connecting people, countries, projects, partners also. And I love it there. So I've only had a very positive experience ever since. So yeah, it all comes from like a personal interest.
Awesome. Thank you, Anastasia. And I'd like to pass the microphone over to Amira. So, yeah, I guess for people who missed the question, so how did you start into crypto? And you're very into this space as well of the local community, Amira.
Yeah, so my brother was shilling Bitcoin to me like when it was like sub $200. And a lot of the community already knows like my origin story, but like I didn't get into crypto initially because I wasn't good at math. And I just thought like digital gold, this didn't make any sense. And like we were in middle school and like he was like getting into Bitcoin, trading Bitcoin. And it was only until like the peak of like one of the bull cycles, like early on, where it was XRP, like everything was just going up. I got into Bitcoin, but I didn't want to ask my brother how to trade, or like I didn't get any of his insight or advice. So I had to learn the hard way about like rug pulls, market cycles, got into technical analysis, and like Christine, like Anastasia, like got into the right circles and like the right communities. And it just is a learning process. And like the more you learn about the utility side of crypto, of blockchain, the more you see it's like where we're going future wise. And then in terms of like joining coins, so I was always like docs behind the scenes. I'm in venture capital, esports, fashion. I'm across multiple sectors, but the reason I ended up joining coins was when I met Christine, when I met Wei, the founder. Like I was really bullish on what coins was about and what coins was going after in terms of like the next few weeks, few months, and the roadmap for pushing for mass adoption. And that's one of the reasons I opted to go for a more visible role rather than behind the scenes and doxing. So that's
Thank
the
you.
shortcut version of it.
Thank you, Amir. Yeah, I think curiosity plays a big role in learning more about things. So thank you for sharing. And I guess for our next round of perspectives, so maybe for the three of you, so maybe the question I have is, what was your experience, joining Coins, and what were some of the bright spots and the challenges that you faced also when you were coming into the organization. So I'll pass the microphone back to you, Christine.
Okay, sure. Um, for me, joining Coins.ph, this is like kind of focusing on like male centric, etc. for this industry, right? But then for me, Coins was never more like I couldn't really see the company as a gender perspective. What stood out to me is it's just a very big company, and then how the company is very dynamic and execution focused. So the ratio wise, it's just I'm talking to like management level who are both male and female. My team is all mix of male and female. There's no like male dominant side in a sense. If you look at our marketing team, there are more guys, I would say, and then in finance team there's also a lot of girls. So it doesn't really matter which team you are. I think if you are the right fit, if you have a right capability, then you belong and we can work together. So for that sense, I really enjoyed. And then I also found out like how different team works together in terms of how very how should I say it, like the department cross department are always really neatly tied together. So coming from like a VC, which our team wasn't really big, and to this big organization, I had to kind of adjust to that. And I'm still working together with different teams that is very new. Still, I'm still getting used to it. But I think I'm finding a way how the communication can be better, and then the execution can be supported with each other.
Got it. Thank you, Christine. And maybe for Anastasia's perspective, especially from the XYZ side of things. So how's that been also joining the team and operating from Latam?
Yeah. I'm loving Kristen's answer on this one, right? But we are working a bit probably like differently because our approach is more of a startup one, since our project is smaller and we are so far like 11 people, right? And I also would outside just repeat that it's not that male dominated for us either in Brazil. So it's almost half and half. So we don't have this, also male dominance. And, sometimes they are even being careful, like, okay, am I being like a man, here? Or like, are we collaborating together? But my experience has been very great so far. And I would outline first that we do collaborate a lot. We do communicate a lot, so everyone meets everyone, so we can have a one-on-one like with everyone in the team, and we have our all hands call together. So I think this has been like the brightest experience so far, that we don't only have our like tasks, but we actually like do them together, and we try to find the best way possible to make this happen, and just stay in touch, communicate clearly, transparently all the time, and everyone can see what you are working on. So that's just adds to like the experience itself, right? And we are all working also online, and that's also kind of a plus, that we can just connect in any moment. So yeah, it's been great.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I guess last for this round, so maybe Amira, how's your experience being, joining the team? And how's that experience joining Coins as well? And what are some of the bright spots and challenges you've encountered, as a marketing director?
Yeah, so this might be a polarizing answer, but because it is something that does need to be addressed, and the community, people in crypto, people in Web2 like asks this question a lot, where the biggest question is like, for example, coins trading fees are really high. So a big challenge with joining Coins is when you're part of a regulated exchange, you have to adhere to regulations and like explaining mass adoption. And like whenever there's new tech, there will always be challenges. And like in order to bring down trading fees, like all of these things need to happen. But to also explain that we are fighting for mass adoption and that there's no like one single enemy, or like there shouldn't be a group that's villainified. Like we're all working towards a similar goal. And to also explain that we are doing our best to like give the best rates that we can. But there's also like taxes that need to be paid. There's also just a lot of factors that are not always seen. And there are also a lot of factors, like especially with institutions being involved, with the government, with laws. Everyone is still figuring this technology out. So there is a lot that's happening, and there's a lot we're figuring out. So I think that is part of the challenge. But I'm really confident in the team who is pushing and spearheading Coins. And that's a big reason why I'm here and why I'm joining them. And then in terms of like UX updates and like app updates, we hear all of you, we're having conversations, and everything is just like a work in progress. It's not always like sunshine and rainbows. It's not always like the good aspects. And that's part of the challenges of being in marketing, of being in PR, to embrace like both days and like as a company that you are progressing, that you are actually in the trenches, spearheading, pushing all of these initiatives, and it is part of the journey and part of like what we're signing up for.
Thank you, Amira. I guess to move on to our next question. So maybe let's talk about some of the things that we've been working on in recent times. So maybe the three of you can share what are some of the recent projects and campaigns that you're very much proud of, especially with regards to all of us here have a little bit of work in the marketing area. So maybe Christina, I'll pass the microphone back to you. So what's a recent project or campaign that you're very much proud of?
I actually want to add on to what Amira was saying. So currently, we are basically providing like the lowest spreads and the cheapest withdrawal fee for the stablecoin USDT and USDC. So we've been doing a lot more campaigns around that, and we're planning to do more in terms of trading as well as deposit and buy and hodl. So that's what our campaign team has been cooking behind the scene. And then I think there's going to be more coming up in the following weeks. So I think that's something that I'm excited to see how we can launch it and share the news.
Thank you, Christine. Anastasia, over there in Brazil, what are some projects or campaigns that you're very much proud of as well?
Yeah, actually, we've also launched our campaign. We are about to launch. We just announced it, and we already had over 200 people just signing up immediately. That was no fees campaign for a pair of UCT BRL, and that was already a great result that we've just had from like posting one video of mine. So it's been great. But I'm mostly of like beside that, I'm mostly proud of our like increased visibility in the space here in Brazil and also in Latin America. So when I just started, maybe we had a small like accounts, or people wouldn't actually know what Coins was. But then we started with like being panel speakers, presentations, going to events, going hard on our posting on social media, also connecting on LinkedIn, not only just through our page, but also through personal conversations and profiles. So we've just increased our visibility as a project so much that that's something that actually makes me kind of proud of, because before we would just like reach out, okay, can we have a conversation? And now like I'm in Rio now, right, in Rio de Janeiro, and here we are having an event that is Smart Summit, where our director is a speaker as well, and we get invitations to do so. So it's like we are reached out by other people in order to meet, to collaborate. So this is mostly what I'm proud of. Thanks.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I guess Amira, what's a project or a campaign that I guess you're very much proud of that we worked on recently?
So like for me, there's more to Coins.ph than just being a trading platform and really pushing this narrative. So like touching on what Christine said earlier, there's a lot more that we do. We do a lot of OTC trading. We have like the best competitive rates for USDT, USDC, and pushing that out, that there's more to coins than just crypto and trading. So I was in a panel roundtable the other day, and the banking sector, they were surprised. They were like, I didn't know that you could use QRPH to pay for like coffee, for dinner. I didn't know that there was a lot of capabilities and functionalities of coins beyond just like using it for trading. Like the even the ability to do OTC trades, to do like remittance, this hadn't crossed the mind of like a lot of the Web2 people who've been looking at Coins.ph. And I'm just really proud of everyone in the team, of like how they are championing what we're doing and being really active in universities, in events across like global events. We'll be at Money 2020 in Bangkok. And yeah, we're just being much more aggressive in terms of marketing and pushing the new narrative of what we're wanting to create and the super app.
Thank you, Amira. Yeah, really about letting people know that we want to be that all-in-one, one-stop shop, for their financial needs. So thank you for that. I think the next question that we can move on to, is so I'd like to ask this question, which is maybe, in your opinion, how is crypto or Web3 or fintech in general, serving more women? And maybe you can all speak with regards to like your countries that you're from. So Christine from Hong Kong, Anastasia with regards to servicing in Brazil, and then Amir of the Philippines. So, Christine, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay. I think how crypto is serving women. What I would see is, uh, as I said, like TradFi, crypto, it's both very male dominated, but as the time passes by, things are really changing, and obviously the gender ratio has been changing too. But what I really think highly of crypto is it's very permissionless. So, crypto basically allows you, or like anyone who has internet access and is having any interested in this industry, then there's so many different roles that is available. Whether that be you want to have your own project, you can be a builder, you can be in a BD, you can be in a marketing, you can be in literally just project management or trader or investor. There's just so much that the space provides. And I think the entrance barrier is relatively lower than going to traditional finance. So yeah, I think that's something that how I would say like some of my female peers would be interested in and want to join. But there are things that they're always concerned about, more like stability or just the industry nature itself, the volatile nature, right? But for me, speaking from Hong Kong, Hong Kong is a spot where there's more regulations coming in, and a lot of crypto headquarters are based in here as well. And also a lot of institutional um, like banks or all these like payment companies, they're also based here in Hong Kong and operates here. And they're having a lot of those Web 2.5 type of roles coming out from the JD side. So that's, I think it's also very giving a bit more leeway for people who wants to step into crypto but also a bit scared to kind of take those role, meet more people, and especially with the fact that Hong Kong is really small, by networking people start actually figuring out what they really want to do in this space, what they want to utilize, and then join. So yeah, I think that's my observation and what I see.
Awesome. Thank you, Christine. And I guess next to you, Anastasia. So, how about in your areas? So, maybe in the Brazil community, or I think you mentioned you're from Russia, right? So, speak to that as well.
Sure. So also how I'm frame these, because I'm not going to be a fun person for saying that, but for males, sometimes it is just like one more tool to move, like to have access to finance, because they already had historically, like, traditional finance and banking system, and women have started having these, like, I don't know, 60 years ago, when they wouldn't depend on a husband to get an access to any like bank account or finance in general, right? So it's even more about this kind of unprotectiveness from this point of view, of females in general. And women are not only gaining access to finance, they are gaining access to their freedom, to being able to have their sources of income stability through the technology, internet, or Web3 in general. Because yes, as you mentioned, this is you don't need to have a permission to get yourself an account on in crypto in general. So I think that it's a change of narrative, and it's also about giving more opportunities to women all around the world, and especially in emerging countries. So I had a lot of conversations with women also in the events or in real life, and they would be saying that they can actually, not only make a living, but get an access. So that's a different narrative we're talking about. We're not talking about like how to make $1 million. We're talking about how to, like save money and maybe, protect themselves from any kind of domestic abuse or any other kind of situation, to be able to go out of this. So I think that crypto and Web3 are way more than like builder houses when they are like chilling for 2 weeks and just like building something for it's like crypto bros. I was just this morning, I was just thinking about, as like women are not able to do this, just, like, especially if women have families or children, it's a different perspective I'm just comparing to this, like 10 days situation where they're building a project and just, having the beers over, over the MacBook. So, I think that it's a change of the story in this case, and that crypto and Web3, that like they're definitely are changing the narrative there for women and giving them more opportunities. So this is important that we keep working, we keep explaining how it works, and also do it in different languages and make it go global. Also because, like the fees, this like the lowest fees, it's having them is very important, and so is important telling other women on how it can change their lives.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I guess lastly, if, Amira, so how about Filipino women in that community also?
So, similarly, like it levels the playing field, and regardless of gender, it just opens more doors. And also, when it comes to crypto, it's less hierarchical than TradeFi, where if you go into like a crypto conference as a woman, you would be able to connect with founders easily. It's less about earning your way in the same way that finance or like the tech sector would. It's just easier to get into. And the biggest thing that crypto would ask of you is like resilience and like showing up. So, yeah, I think like it's opening up opportunities, doors, whether it's investing or like these different verticals opening up.
Thank you, Amira. All right, so I think the next question we can move on to is in line also with your insights as well. So I'll pass the microphone back to you, Christine. So maybe what do you think is driving this growing interest and participation, and maybe you can share a bit more about the trends that are happening in your respective countries.
I think I kind of briefly answered that question earlier from my answer. So I think the growing interest and participation, I think there's actually more demand that I'm seeing with the fact that how crypto was more like a cool kid stuff or some crypto bros kind of world, but now it's actually getting recognized by the institutions. There's more regulations kicking in, and it is actually becoming something that once people thought it was an idea to an actual technology, and we're actually utilizing it. And I think that's why with more credibility being in and more stability being shown, people are more interested in joining or being getting more curious, or at least hop onto the trading part. That's the minimum that they can do. So I think that's something that I've been seeing, at least around my area, around my Hong Kong and this space.
Thank you, Christine. And I guess what about you, Anastasia? Maybe in your areas of influence, what's driving more growing interest and participation?
I think here in Brazil, people are having more trust in crypto, in Bitcoin, in blockchain in general, because we're doing great work at having a lot of events also for entry level, not only for already like negotiations or partnerships. So there's a lot of explanation, how it works, what it is. So I think that it's mostly yes, trust. And I also know a lot of moms who are investing in Bitcoin long term for their children. And their argument that their trust is not with TradFi anymore, is with Bitcoin and it was crypto in general. So this is what is happening mostly in Brazil. And also from a female perspective, there are a lot of circles that are happening and are opening for women also. Just recently saw a post of a coffee break at 7:30 in the morning, in Sao Paulo, for women to meet up and just partner or just talk about crypto and just educate themselves about it, right? So it's a different kind of event, but it's already happening, right? So I think that more and more people are participating, and I like that there are a lot of events and also online events for entry level, just to explain the basics. So that's how it makes the transition easier.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I guess, Amira, maybe for you in the Filipino community, what's driving more interest and participation from newbie Filipinos coming into the space?
So Philippines is big on remittances because of OFWs and kababayans. So the biggest interest right now is what stable coins and like using stable coins does for the economy in terms of like when they're sending money home, they get to keep and pocket more of the money going home. And also like in terms of like moving money, it's just a different ball game with USDT, USDC, and like using stable coins. And also, like, banks are looking at it because with stable coins, it's not just like Mondays to Fridays, it becomes 24/7. And we're heavily looking at FX and just like trading currencies. So that's the biggest interest for the Philippines.
Thank you, Amira. I guess the next question, I'd like to ask also, um, is this one. So, there are estimates that only 6% of crypto-related CEO positions are filled up by women. So, why do you think so? And what needs to be done in order to change, that status quo? So, I'll pass it back to you, Christine.
For this question, I guess it's simply because crypto is still a relatively young industry, and like leadership pipelines, those take time to develop. So when many of the early like crypto companies were founded in early 2000, like not early 2000, like early 2010s, the ecosystem was relatively smaller and dominated by very technical founders, I would say. Um, but now it's changing and the industry is becoming more mature. So more people from different background, including whether that be just general like TradFi finance, product marketing, and operations, and even like these tech companies combining with AI and also crypto. So there's more diverse pipeline developing over time, and then which is the reason why we're seeing more, which is still few, but I believe that's going to grow in the next 5 years.
Thank you, Christine. And Anastasia, maybe on your end, what do you think needs to be done in order to change, that status quo?
Yeah, I would agree that I think that it's still early stage and that it's been mostly technical so far, and that whenever people would invest in project, that's some tendency that I've noticed over the years. Venture capital companies, I would prefer to invest in people they already know. So if historically these were like men, so that would give the tendency and that would be like going on. So it takes some time to just change these dynamics. So I guess we will see more steel and leaders in general in the industries as well, all industry critically related. So I guess that it just takes time.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I guess, Amira, on your end, so maybe what needs to be done in order to change up that status quo?
Yeah, agreed. So like we're really early. So right now I think representation and like women seeing other women in these leadership roles that will encourage them to enter the industry and like, oh, this can be done. So Coins is actually one of the few companies that I've been in the crypto space that's really pushing for women leaders. So that's one thing I am really pushing for here also locally, that there is representation and that women can enter the space. It's just really early right now.
Thank you, Amira. All right, so maybe I'd like to move a bit forward so we can also touch on the key topics, but also get some community questions. So I think maybe what we can move forward to is this one. So maybe what do you all think are the most important strengths of women, and how are those relevant in this crypto and Web3 space? So maybe Christine, I'd like to pass it back to you. So what do you think are those strengths that women who will especially come into the space, what do they possess and they can bring out and positively influence the space with?
Am I on? Okay. That's a bit of a tough one. I'm trying to like think. But I guess one thing for me personally, the way I see that what I bring value is more like being able to communicate, being able to build the community and having more um, relationship, building more meaningful relationship, because Web3 is fundamentally very community driven. In terms of the crypto side, the protocols, ecosystems, all these networks succeed when people have to trust the community support and people build on and collaborate together. So I think women or female often have a bit more higher intelligence in these relationships, being able to connect people, to maintain the networks, and building long-term trust. Not saying that male don't have it, but I think we do also have a bit of a perk there. So I guess those are one of like the strengths that would be relevant in and is important in this industry.
Thank you, Christine. And over to you, Anastasia. So what are some of those strengths that you think the ladies possess, and how is that relevant in this very fast moving space?
Sure. I would say that yes, it's emotional intelligence, and it is thought that women are emotional, they are crazy, whatever, like on the internet, everybody's saying about that, but it's so far from the truth when it comes to leadership style, for example, or to working with another female, because usually it's just very emotionally mature people, and these translate into clear communication styles, transparency while doing the tasks. It's also a long-term thinking rather than just like a short-term reaction over something. So we've historically have to learn how to be like intelligent in different ways, not only in a like being smart in a traditional way that like I don't know, I've read books. We have to be environment smart, we have to be logistically smart, so we can just translate all the skills into the industry. And I think we have indeed a lot of strengths, as well as men do a lot as well. So it's just we have different ones, and we can combine them so well together. That's why I think that it's important to just collaborate and bring our best to the project that we are working on.
Thank you, Anastasia. Amir, I guess, what about you? What strengths do Filipino women have, and how are those relevant, in this very fast-moving space?
Agreed. I think we're complementary to men. So, like men, like wiring wise, men are very logical, very like numbers, linear systems, and crypto and AI already has like that coldness to it. So, having EQ, putting the community first, like relationships, is something like women are able to bring to the table. So, I think it's complementary. And we need both for what's coming next.
Thank you, Amira. All right, so maybe the last three questions that I have that are set here, we can move through those very briefly, so we can take some of the questions from the community. So I think rapid fire for this portion. So Christine, back to you. How do you think the landscape will change in the next 5 or 10 years? It's a very long time in this space, and what will be those catalysts to drive this change?
I think it'll be more. There's gonna be more user adoptions happening, and obviously there's gonna be more deeper institutional adoptions and more tokenized like RWAs, as I mentioned in our previous AMA before. And stablecoins is going to be obviously the key major part in the global payment section. So yeah, I think it's just going to be really inevitable to kind of detach from your life, and then it's just going to be a part of our everyday life, how we obviously use these uh, the technology every day. Yeah.
Thank you, Christine. Anastasia, over to you. How do you think the landscape will change in the next 5 to 10 years?
I'm going to be very positive about it and think that we will not have to explain why crypto is important or how to use crypto, and this is going to become like just normal part of our life. I really hope so, and that we'll be able to use stable coins just like for our daily transactions, as if it's just a normal thing for every person in the world. Like it used to be like sending a message on the phone, so it would be like the same thing, and that it wouldn't be like a weird area. I don't think that it is already anymore. Like this crypto industry that people have doubts about. This is just one more thing that you can use in your favor, right? And I would really be cheering out for the technology to be like massively adopted. And the catalyst for this, I think, yes, it's always education.
Education is so important. Thank you, Anastasia. And I guess, Mira, how do you think the landscape will change in the next 5 to 10 years? And what catalysts do you think drive that change?
So I think like you don't even need to know that you're using crypto to be using crypto. And like that would be the biggest change that I'm seeing. So with the internet, you don't need to know like why the internet works or how the internet works. It just becomes like a part of the infrastructure. And like with AI agents, it will just be more seamless and more part of our everyday lives.
Okay. So thank you, Amira. And I think maybe the last set question, we can just go rapid fire. I merged the questions just so we can touch on it really briefly. So for all of you, how can we encourage more women to explore crypto and fintech? What advice would you give to women looking to transition their career from Web2 or traditional corporate to this Web3 space? So Christine, back to you.
I think the easiest way that if you want to even join this industry or if you're interested in this industry is looking up what's happening in the scene first, just getting familiarized with all these newses, all these terms, and then just look into like LinkedIn or ask around your friend groups or just go for a coffee chat to all these people who are already involved in this industry or have been working for a while, because I think the most important thing is people, because when you're working, you're always going to work with multiple people. So understanding what it is like, what the group is like, what the industry is like from the people perspective is very important, because tech part, knowledge part, you can always catch up. It's relevant in any industry, right? So yeah, I think finding the people, talking to them, networking, and then seeing where you belong in which sector, that matters the most.
Thank you, Christine. Anastasia, over to you.
Sure. So I think that you're already doing a great job that, like, showing us here we're working in crypto and we're telling this experience that we've had so far. So like to just show that this is possible, right? That would be the first step, like, okay, you can do this, you can do that, look, there are like kind of people who are actually working this. So this is already important. So thank you so much for organizing this interviews and conversations and just like sharing the information on how it works. So I think this is already the first step. And for people who want to start in crypto, both men and women, I think that this is very important to just join communities or look for some groups rather online or in your city, in your country, who would be just like sharing. We have our community in Brazil where people can just enter and just stay there. Like, they can ask questions, how it works. They can share information that they're finding and their skills also. So, like creating and being in these communities itself already helps a lot to understand, how it works, but also, to be able to connect with people. So I don't know, like if you just send a message like, hey, I want to do that, to someone on LinkedIn, like from woman to woman, for example, and I don't know where to start with, what person wouldn't just answer and just send some information over? Like everybody would. Or worst case scenario, you're just like not being answered because somebody hasn't seen the message. It also happens. But reaching out to people and joining communities, I think this is a key. And almost like there are a lot of careers in Web2 that can be transitions to Web3. So it's just a matter of, of the angle of how you see this and what skills you already have.
Thank you, Anastasia. And lastly, I guess so we can move on to some community questions. Just a few. Amira, how can you encourage more women to explore crypto, especially as the global director for marketing?
Yeah, just showing up, whether it's online or offline, and participating. So you can listen to AMAs like these, you can consume content, you can learn how to trade. It's taking that first action step and participating rather than watching from the sidelines or overthinking it without taking any action.
Thank you, Amira. All right, so maybe we can move on to some community questions for some rapid fire, responses to the community questions. So I think the first one I'd like to pick out. This one was from Twitter. So this one, let me just fix that a bit. Was this one? So maybe I think this is a good one to tackle. So, what's the single biggest misconception people have about women's roles in the crypto space today, and how can the community better support female leaders in Web3? So maybe I'll give you some time to think about it, and then when you're ready, you guys can go ahead and take a shot at the question.
Yeah, I think I can go. So, like, a big misconception for how people perceive women in crypto could be that, like, are you an influencer here? So, they don't think that women are all the time. So, this doesn't happen all the time, but it is a misconception that does happen, is thinking that they're just an influencer or that they are in the room because they have to be, but they're actually participating themselves. And they're actually versed in crypto and trading and yeah, just more representation there.
I would agree. Yeah, I saw it happening already. That people would think that women are in there because they are looking for crypto bros. Like this TikTok meme, like I want a finance guy. So that's something like that. Or yes, or being an influencer, or that you are someone's girlfriend who is just like coming there with their boyfriend. So I'm lucky like it didn't happen, but I heard some like like weird stories. Yeah, that that women were faced with this kind of situations. So I think that just like considering that a female can, like a woman can be there because she works there and she works hard, that would be nice to start with. So I think this is the biggest misconception that we've had so far.
I think also another one is that if there's woman founder or woman CEO, they kind of tend to see that women are less comfortable with risks. They're more risk adverse, so they kind of have more doubts in the project itself or just how the company would be running, and they will want to look for more like male management level and like more male ratio in the management level. So I think those are also some misconceptions that people would have in their mind, but obviously it really depends on the project. It really depends on how the company runs, not about if they're if the CEO is a girl or a guy. So yeah, I think these are some lot of misconceptions that I've been hearing alongside with just girls being girl and not there to work but to just be pretty.
All right. I think the last question, just to wrap it up, I think this is a nice question to end the session on. Is this one? So this one comes from Twitter, and I guess this comes from Unique. So if you're a Coins.ph user, do leave your. We'll probably reach out to you for a UID so we can send you USDT. So I think this is a good one. So they ask, what advice would you give your younger self before entering crypto? And then anyone can feel free to just take a shot at the question.
Enter earlier. It took me the longest time to enter crypto, so I would have just like doubled down on Bitcoin and Ethereum and gone in earlier. And we're still pretty early to this technology, so that's also
Same.
advice to anyone listening.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned
Thank you,
earlier, I
Mira.
was already
Um,
surrounded by yeah, I think I was already surrounded by a lot of crypto people before fully joining in. And then I was always a bit more worried, and then I was just thinking too much. I'm not smart enough. There's just so much happening. I don't know everything, but you will never know everything. You will find your own expertise at the end of the day. And nobody knows everything in every space, I feel like, unless you're like a professor or you're just doing the whole specific niche stuff, right? So just what I would say is don't be afraid, just do it, see how it goes. You're young technically, so you're about to make mistakes, and that's how you learn. So yeah, I'm just gonna be like move as soon as possible.
Thank you,
I
Christine.
was
Anastasia, add to that, yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say the same, that you will never know everything, and you will never know who knows more or less, because there are so many areas inside cryptography that you can know or not know about. So I used to just like get freaked out when I hear some word that I don't know what does it mean. So I'm like already, wow, am I missing on someone? Just like that would be a good thing to do, because I would go and study and try to understand these, like all kinds of technicalities that maybe me from a marketing side, I wouldn't so like need to understand deeply, but I would try to understand it. And then I would meet people who are in better positions, way higher positions, that they don't know these things, and I'm like, okay, I'm lost. What do I have to know? Right? So I think that you just keep studying, keep learning, and just do not doubt yourself that like of capabilities, of that. If you study, if you show up, if you do the work, it is good enough to keep going, right? So just do not stop. That would be my advice, my message to my younger self.
Do not stop. Thank you for those wise words, and I guess thank you everyone for making the time and for joining this round robin panel discussion. I hope everyone enjoyed the session, and to our viewers, thank you also for tuning in. So Amira, Anastasia, Christine, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. And to our community, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all again on our next live stream here at Coins. And yes, we'll talk to you next week where we'll probably have more topics related to fintech, crypto, and Web3. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening, morning, or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank
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 you.
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye bye.